This week, Keir Starmer found the perfect way to get rid of the only remaining left-winger in his cabinet, Rebecca Long-Bailey, on completely trumped-up charges of anti-Semitism. Long-Bailey shared an article in The Independent by Maxine Peake. Peake had mentioned in the article that Israeli occupation forces have for a long time been training US police force in the kind of tactics that led to George Floyd being killed. This is well-established fact. A 2016 report from Amnesty points out Baltimore law enforcement officials, along with hundreds of others from Florida, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, California, Arizona, Connecticut, New York, Massachusetts, North Carolina, Georgia, Washington State, as well as DC Capitol Police, have all travelled to Israel for training. Thousands of others have received training from Israeli officials here in the US. But more than that, there's evidence that the specific police force in Minneapolis, Minnesota, were themselves trained by Israeli police. This article from NPR News back in 2012 states clearly about 100 Minnesota law enforcement officers attended a counter-terrorism training conference in Minneapolis today. The conference was put on by the Israeli consulate in Chicago. And I'm not sure anyone can look at this image of an Israeli knee on a Palestinian neck without thinking of George Floyd. But literally within moments of Rebecca Long-Bailey having shared the article by Maxine Peake, the usual suspects were turning this into an anti-Semitic conspiracy theory. And within hours, Rebecca Long-Bailey was sacked. Now, there are plenty of reasons to be angry about this, but the chief one is this: Keir Starmer is a liar. Back in January of this year, at a campaign event for his leadership election, Keir Starmer was asked by an audience member why on earth he has hired private healthcare lobbyist Ben Nunn to his office. If he's leader of the party of the NHS, why on earth is Keir Starmer hiring a private healthcare lobbyist? And this is how Keir answered.
As for comments about members of my staff, I won't tolerate them. I had 8,000 staff for 5 years as the Director of Public Prosecutions. I picked up awards on their behalves. And when they made mistakes, I carried the can. I never turn on my staff, and you should never turn on your staff. That is how I will lead our party and our movement. We will make mistakes, of course we will, but we stand together, and I will carry the can for mistakes of any organisation that I lead. Bullshit!
But then again, there are staff within the Labour Party that Keir Starmer will go to bat for. We had the leaking of the 860-page report that proved that a small group of right-wing staffers and MPs in the Labour Party had deliberately sabotaged the 2017 general election in the hopes that it would remove Jeremy Corbyn as leader of the party. But despite their efforts, Labour came within 2,000 votes of winning the election and destroyed Theresa May's majority. So how did these right-wing Labour people react to this fantastic news and achievement? Their messages to each other indicate they were actually devastated. One said they were stunned and reeling. Another, quote, silent and grey-faced. Someone else said they were, quote, in need of counselling. One member said, opposite to what I had been working towards for the last couple of years. These are Labour staffers paid by the membership fees of Labour members, admitting to have been working for a couple of years on destroying the election hopes of their own party. Coupled with this was severe racist abuse. One of the officers of the Labour Party had discovered that Diane Abbott was in the toilets crying because she was overcome that day by the amount of sexist and racist abuse she was receiving. How did her colleague react? He celebrated in this WhatsApp message group about having tipped off television journalists so that they would go in that toilet and find her in that state. The report also showed that the staffers had deliberately obstructed the investigations into anti-Semitism in the party, simply to drag them out frustrate the leadership and keep the story running in the news. So not only do these people not care about achieving a Labour government, they don't care about anti-black racism, and they don't care about anti-Semitism unless they can weaponise it for political ends. So one would think then that Keir Starmer would show zero tolerance to these people. But instead, he took nearly 2 weeks even to make public comment on the leaked report. And then in early April of this year, he claimed that he would launch an urgent investigation. He has barely mentioned it since. The obvious question now is where to go from here. And we have big figures on the left, Ian Lavery, John McDonnell, Owen Jones, all demanding that the left stay in the party. But they're not giving the membership any reason to stay in the party other than the Labour right wants you to leave. There is an absolute vacuum of leadership on the left at the moment. If people are going to be asked to stay and pay money every month to an organisation which is openly committed to harassing them, to bullying them, and to purging them from the party, you need a battle plan. You need to stand up and fight this from the front and let people know that there is a point to what is going on here. When centrists lost control of the party, they didn't just say, stay in the party, one day, someday it might turn round. They declared war. And they were relentless in that war for 4.5 years until they won it. And it was very clear who the figureheads of this revolt were. They put their name to their plan. So it is not enough for the Socialist Campaign Group to wear long faces and ask for our solidarity without being willing to put up the same fight for their members that centrists and the right put up for theirs. I have no doubt at all that left-wing members of the Labour Party and those who have already left would fight tooth and nail for the Socialist Campaign Group if they showed half the courage that the membership has already shown. Because the fact is that New Left media and the left-wing membership have been fighting this witch hunt alone for 4 years. And not only they were fighting alone, but they ended up having to fight both the people making up the witch hunt and the Optics Left commentators that went along with it, that endorsed something they knew to be untrue because they didn't know how to fight it. They dismissed swathes of left-wing members as cranks. There is no way that they can expect loyalty and solidarity from people that they dismissed as cranks and throw under the bus without first taking full accountability for what's happened this past 4.5 years, and second, without laying down a clear battle plan for how we win. This is it. This is the moment. Either the Socialist Campaign Group steps up and fights this, or the left will leave the Labour Party, and it will put its energy and its time into organising in new and different ways. That is simply the way it is. So the ball is really in the court of the Socialist Campaign Group today. What are you going to do? When are you going to do it? To quote Shelley, rise like lions after slumber, in invanquishable number. Shake your chains to earth like dew, which in sleep had fallen on you. Ye are many, they are few.